that, other. So they finally catch him, but he tell them, he said, no, folks, this is all over. We're gonna, it's on now?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Well, we have been discussing the current situation, and where we've gotten so far is that we should have some flyer, some information, a statement to affect the people in our neighborhood. Because as far as we are now with this coronavirus or what have you, is our people are not heeding the general warnings and what have you. Not only here, but they had to close the beaches in Australia, the white folks and all of them. They just said, no, we ain't going. They showed the beaches, they was just full of people. And so in different places, since we're dealing with what part we should play in this matter, we're talking about what part we should play right now and what we should be doing in the future. Like there's some things that we're gonna do right now, but we just want to discuss the issues and the vision, how we see our environment right now. Did you finish your discussion on how you see things right now?
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So your basic thing was about putting out a flyer to help educate the people, because there had been information, according to what I was seeing and hearing, that the black people couldn't get this. But when you look at the news, it makes you think. When I was watching the news the other night, and I think I saw another program, kind of like the one I was just talking about, and it was targeting all of them. It just so happens that everything was targeting, certain people. That's why I remember when we did the program on China, this was about 2 or 3 months ago, I said, I hope China will make a vaccine or something, right, for the Negro. Because one of the things I want to say is, this program is how to prevent a global lockdown. I'm not talking about this lockdown. But the human being has progressed so far as scientific advancement and what have you, psychological advancement, in order to prevent living on an animal farm or super management and absolute loss of all freedoms, we would have to have a good world where a lot of the things are taken care of. We can't have a world, we can't have two things. One is limited freedom, you know what a human being, limited freedom, limited progress, limited accommodations, all of those things within reason, you know. And at the same time, we have a society that's controlled by riba and all of that. Why? Because the society is controlled by riba, that means it'll continue to perpetuate the same thing we got. The rich get rich and the poor get poorer. Okay. Right now, if this thing, we can really do good planning when we see how this thing ends or what it looks like at the end. Because some of the things that you see, you have to wait. That's what delay is about. You see something first, I'm going to skip a minute, but I'll try to get back to this. When you see something at first like 9/11, okay, 9/11, if they did it, which they did, then they're going to present certain scenarios, a multiple of scenarios. This is what happened, that's what happened. When it first came out, they was talking, the people were saying, well, the Zionists did it, or this and that. And they had the stuff with the Zionists up on the roof laughing and all that. Okay, having a good time. Then they put some other stuff out that's good, fits into all the general conspiracy. But they have somebody already waiting. If they put out this stuff, they already have somebody waiting that can debunk all of that. It sounds good, right? But you can debunk it, all of that stuff. Then they put out other things that may have really happened. See, of course, we don't mess with them, but if you read the Protocols of Zion, they have said, put out so much stuff, confused. The common man will be confused. He's not a deep thinker. They know that. See, so anyway, then they'll put out some other things that make sense. And they'll put out some mixtures of truth mixed in with that. And it accommodates all the stuff and all the videos and all that stuff that comes out anyway. You know, because people going to bring their stuff out. If you remember 9/11, man, they had Riders of the Pale Horse. They had all of them videos on what happened, whatreallyhappened.com. Remember that they had a whole website about whatreallyhappened.com. A lot of it was good, but a lot of it, if you tried to follow it down and try to prove it in court, it wouldn't work. You know what I mean? It sounded good, but it would backfire. And I remember Abdul Malik, when I was in LA when this happened, we was talking, he said, yeah, man. Or when I got to Oakland, I had to ride the bus to Oakland. He said, yeah, man, the Zionists did this. I said, well, just wait a little while. Just wait a little while and we'll see what happened. What did happen? Clearly, if anything that they said was true, then that means 13 or 15 of the people was from Saudi Arabia. They were out nightclubbing and getting lap dancing the night of the thing. That's not, a person that's going to achieve martyrdom is praying and all of that type of stuff the night before a mission. The last thing they would be doing is lap dancing. Anybody that was going to do something like that would be people, right, that are physically, you know what I mean, tied to the physical world. Maybe they got some of their parents back home and scared them, whatever it was Saudi Arabia. Who could leave America? Nobody except Saudi Arabia, that's all. So that's why we said wait. Same thing on this. We just wait, we got ideas. But if we wait on this, everything is going to come out in its own time. Even America will begin to hint. I read an article in Newsweek 1979. And the article was about America always talk about their past sins, like Vietnam was a mistake, but they don't be right up on today. That's if we admit our past sins, we was wrong, then we're doing the same now. No, they don't do that. they only talk about their past sins, way after they didn't happen. Okay, they even bring people out, so-called FBI, Philip Agee, and all these people that come on, they used to come on WPF. They'd be ex-CIA agents talking about what they did in Angola and all of that, right? But they was never talking about what the American and the Zionists are doing right today. The point is this, is the delay gives you a chance to see who did what, and even sometimes why, by what happens after. You have to let them live out their little fantasy, whatever it is. So we'll be able to tell exactly who did this, right? By how it comes out at the end. An example, we know somebody hired Donald Trump to do this. Why did they hire him? Because Donald Trump is if he's broke, which we all believe he is, but he's arrogant also, very arrogant. He's also self-centered and generally mean and paranoid also, and got strands of Nazism. He got, not strands, you would say look, y'all know I watched them World War II programs, Hitler and all of that. I listened to Donald Trump's inaugural address, carbon copy of Adolf Hitler at the Reichstag, 1933, word for word. Adolf Hitler, I'm here, I'm going to use my office as Chancellor, 1933, to defend the fatherland, Deutschland, right? And therefore, I'm enacting certain things. Donald Trump was the same thing, to defend America, to make America great again, right? To suppress the unruly elements, un-American elements, which is basically everybody that's not white. Okay, now, they did their math. They don't need everybody. All they need is a certain amount. See, the smart Germans is the ones that put Hitler in. They thought, we'll put this guy in. He's a clown, he's a buffoon, right? I mean, you can look at the little mustache and all that stuff. And his friends was all that, they used to call them the beer hall puts. The beer hall, they hung out in the beer hall, the pool hall. That's what they did. That's where they hung out and got organized. So they said, we'll put this guy in and we'll manipulate him to do what we want. It didn't happen like that. He got power and then they disappeared, all of them. They all disappeared and run off because he already had a plan. But now Donald Trump is not that smart. He's not that smart. And he's really arrogant. And he's stupid. Therefore, he's amenable to manipulation. They could put an idiot like that in power, and he could be instructed to do this, that, and other, and you hurt everybody. So the hell with them. I don't care nothing about all them people, Americans and white folks and all that. All I care about is money and power and appeasement. You have to, all the governors have to stroke his back. Oh, you're a good old president. All right, they can't say nothing to him now. You wait a few minutes. When this thing passes, you wait. You hear from all them. This guy's a clown. We can't go through this one more. Forget it. He's, that's it. But the people that run the world have long range plans. They think way, way ahead. They have trial runs on everything. They have trial runs. You don't know whether this is the thing. This looks like a trial run for the global lockdown. The reason I say global lockdown is because with engineering and technology, you got to see that somebody is crazy or they're not crazy. Why is that? They inventing and improving all these robotics. Robots. And robots in Korea, and some here, Japan, and even in China now. Those robots do everything, and the human being can't do that stuff. You know those way they got, what's this company, Amazon or something, that have all the people just working and they got a camera on everything. They got to do so many things. A human being can't do that without blowing it, right? But they won't need the human being anymore because they got a thing, they're going to and it'll go and pick up the stock thing and set it on the thing, and then that thing will just run. You just program it, it'll run and get all the stuff will come right to its little brain it's got, and it'll go rolling right around and pick up everything. Everything is by the numbers, right? Long story short is this. Can those machines buy anything? Can they buy a house? They can't. So they're creating all of these machines. Why? To get more efficient and more effective. But anybody that had any sense would manage their society where the human being feels good if they can work and they can, you have 2 or 3 lazy people, but most people, if they can build something or make something, they feel like they've done something. Most people are like that. Most people have it in their character and their nature. They don't want to sit around and not do nothing. There's a few Negroes that but I ain't against the Negro, but I want to skip again. If you worked all your life and you didn't get nothing for it, you would always be trying to hide and not do no work. Right? Because you wasn't getting nothing for it. And then you down in Dixie and they tell you go out to California and up to New York and up to Michigan, you can get on welfare, lady, and you got 10 children. Ain't no person gonna marry you or nothing. And you can get $400 back in the 50s. You can get $400. And down here in Dixie, you're gonna live in a shack with an old pump out there where you pump your water, and you're gonna starve to death. And all your kids are gonna wind up in a chain gang or somewhere like that, right? So you go out there, why? Because they got welfare and they're gonna look out for you. You would be stupid to stay in the South making $1 a day or $2. In 1965 in Mississippi, people working made $2 a day. A day, not an hour, $2 a day. In California, we made $3 an hour. So what would you, it only makes sense. The point I'm making is that in those days they talked about automation. When I was going to work, I worked for a whole year. So they talked about automation. But now automation is really sophisticated and it's getting better. But the machines can't buy anything. So who would make a machine to make something, but the machines can't buy anything? So they're gonna put the people out of the work, right? America is a spending economy. It's because people spend. Suppose you to make more money, you put the people out of work, right, that's buying everything to make more money. Somebody's cutting their own throat. They'll make more money for a day or two, but in the long run, who's going to buy anything? They don't have no money. You have to take care of them or get rid of them, or you have to have some plan. If the people don't realize how mean the system is. I think I saw something about the assassination of Kennedy. Executive action. I don't know if anybody ever saw it. It was a movie. But Robert Ryan and somebody was in there, and they had a guy looked like Colonel Sanders. So this is decades ago. So they was having a conversation. They said, yes, if we don't take certain actions, we're going to be run over by blacks and Mexicans and all these people of color. That was back then. So for them to write that, that means somebody is thinking like that all together. And just so happens the writer might have a friend that's a part of a club, and that club is but he picks up a few little bits here and there, and his friend maybe super eugenics and get rid of all the people, right? Some of the fiction technically is not all fiction. And some of the fiction incites people, like, say they're just a good old congressman, a good old group of white folks, and they read a little fiction, and the fiction starts to make sense. And they say, can you imagine, it don't take no whole lot of money to organize heavy, devilish fitna like that. That's why we have to live in a good world, or we have to live in a prison. Why? We have to have a world where, you know, in the old days, everybody had guns in their house. Everybody had guns. All the people I knew carried guns. The old people in the South, you know, my father had one of 1911. Well, they had everything. They had, because they hunted for food, they had shotguns, they had 30-30 Winchesters, they had all the stuff, you know, the click, click. They had all those 45s, 1911, you know, those old 45s, the style of what they have now. But nobody killed. You know how people would get killed? The kids would find their daddy's gun, and they would be playing. And no grown folks got killed, but it was all poor little kids. Because remember, all the kids had cap guns. Everybody, when you got a Christmas present, it was guns. America was gun crazy. That's the only gift you're going to get. If you're a boy, you're going to get a gun, and a girl going to get a doll. That's it, right? I mean, everybody, when you was out playing, you had your cap guns on, and you had, later on, they started looking a little real. BB guns? Can you imagine how sick we was as little kids? We had BB guns. You know what we would do? Shoot birds. The bird ain't did nothing to nobody. But we would shoot birds. All the kids. Just, you know, because you're used to shooting. When you see something flying by, you're ready, even in your mind, you're ready to aim at it and shoot it. But the murder rate was low. Why? Because the ethics was there, right? Therefore, I'm not NRA or nothing. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. As dumb as that sounds, that's actually true. So, somebody wants to take all the guns from the people. And that's not the only thing they want to do. There's a lot of other things. You know, eventually people come to the understanding that our society is managed, right? It's managed. You can't have all these millions of people running around, now billions, right, without the society being managed. Okay, who's going to manage the society? The people that have all the money and all the power. And that power and that wealth is going to be concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. What we have now, what we just want to watch, among other things, is when this blows over, where's all the money going? Remember the concentration of wealth, concentration of resources? You know who always wins in a downturn on the economy? The big rich people. Why? They got enough money over here. I have $1 million business. When it goes flats, I can pick it up for $50,000, maybe $25,000. I'll take whatever you give me, and now I got that business. Then I'll build up the stocks again and all that. You know, there's 10-year fluctuations. Then I'll crash the economy again. They will crash the economy. And what do? Same thing always. It's like a harvest. They plant the seeds all the time. They build people up, and then they cut them right down, right? Every time, all the time. And the money, once you get locked in, that's why revolutions is necessary. Now, Thomas Jefferson felt that they should have a revolution every 20 years because he felt that people get to game the system. After the system is in motion and you learn all the rules, all that, and you got enough money, after 20 years, you learn how to game that system. You know, imagine the American system been here all of this time, a couple hundred years, 250 years, something like that. The people going to figure out how to game it. Who can game it? The people that wrote it and made it, right? And they're always they got it set so they'll always be in power. The only time people can gain some freedom is when the people at the top fight each other a little bit. Like World War I and World War II. World War I was over resources of the world. Guess what? England and France took everything in the world. They had all these colonies. That was Belgium, the Belgium Congo, and a few other places. Europeans controlled all of Africa except 1 or 2 places. All of it. Asia, everybody, the whole world was colonized by Europe. Okay? Y'all might have heard of Bismarck. I didn't mean to go on all this, but I might as well continue. Bismarck from Germany, 1880s, 1885, the Chancellor of Germany, hooked Germany up. Now Germany always been bad. The Germans are goose stepping big old. They're mechanical white folks. They don't mind a little goose stepping. And if you leave them alone, they'll goose step all over the world. In fact, you look in Europe right now. World War II, Germany was destroyed. But who runs Europe? The Germans. The Germans. They run Europe. You get your Mercedes-Benz, you get all the best stuff comes from Germany. Then the other is Japan. Japan was considered not honorary white folks, but they used to call the Japanese the white folks of Asia. They were brutal. What they did in China, 1930s, all of it, it's brutal. So, World War I was about colonies. Germany was getting big and strong, and they was basically saying to the British, hey, y'all gotta, and the French, y'all gotta give us, you gotta share this stuff. You got the whole world. You got out ahead of us and you running and stuck your thing and everything, and hey man, we ain't going for that. And pretty soon, it all came out. Germany, and then the decline in power. If you heard of the sick man of Europe, the Ottoman Empire, the Ottomans ruled the world for a long time. We talked about that before. Their greatest victory might have been the seeds of their great defeat. But anyway, them and the Germans. So the Germans and them lost. Then here come World War II. Why is World War II? It's because of World War I. It was World War I. They lost, the Germans lost, so they charged them money and made them pay everything. And then the U.S. is so mean, they would loan the Germans money to pay back the British, so the British and all of them could pay them. So there's really a lot of dirty stuff going on. The point is, we can't live in a world like that now. There's too much science, engineering. One or two people can organize themselves with a couple of computers, and they could do so much harm to the world. So we have to live in a world that either controls that. That means absolute dictatorship. That means we have to live what we're living in kind of now, but headed towards real dictatorship. Facial recognition. Do you know when I was, we was rebelling in the 60s? Do you know we had 10 times the freedom then that you have now? 10 times. I mean, the freedom that we had black neighborhoods. In fact, by the 80s, early 80s, they were saying we made a mistake about integration. You could go get a Social Security card at this place. You could go get you didn't even need a birth certificate. Why in those old days people didn't have birth certificates, but you could go take somebody to the passport office and say, this man was born. That's it. That's all. That's how you got your passport. In the late 60s and early 70s, they didn't start changing that stuff to the 80s and all that. But you had the freedom with all of those things. Of course, Jim Crow, I mean, you may not live that long, but you could at least get a passport. But guess what? Negroes didn't have passports. Here's the thing. We're living in a world right now that the balance will tip toward global lockdown or evolutionary liberation a type of freedom. Okay, now we live in a world too that we get a chance to play a part in that. That's why we're here today. We're here because we want to play in the part of this global transformation. The world is changing. Our analysis is, of course, each one have their own analysis, but our analysis is either we develop a new world, and in that new world we have the science, the engineering, the technology. Right now, all the psychologists, where are they at? They work for the big companies, right? To sell junk to us. The people that started this back in the 20s, Edward Bernays, that's old psychologist, what's the old white man in Europe? Freud, that's Freud's nephew, right? That's Sigmund Freud's nephew. They changed everything from needs to wants. You know why? Before the 1920s, they could only produce enough. You didn't go and say, I want a such and such. You would just say, I need certain things. The world was based on needs, not wants. I wanted this. Now when you go shopping, man, I want the one with this, and I want this. It's what your mind say, and that's what it is. You don't need that. You can't wear the clothes you got at home now. You can't wear the shoes. You can't wear them. So when you go shopping for what you want, not what you need. Right? They had, in the 20s, production had caught up now. Hey, we got so much stuff now. We're going to shift this to wants, not needs. And we're going to shift the whole program. Layaway programs. You know, 100 years ago when you bought a house, you had to buy it. They didn't have no payment plans. You couldn't lay away nothing. After a while, when you could go say, man, let me have those things, and I want to put it on layaway. You put it back there, and I pay you when I pay you a certain percentage of the money, then I get the product. All that's newish. When you bought something, you had to save the money to buy it. You couldn't buy nothing on the long range plan like they have now. Everything is on the long range plan. You ever counted up the long range plan? If you buy a house for $100,000, add up the payments, $300,000. 2/3 you pay for REBA. The first 20 years, you're not paying the principal, you're paying the interest. That's why smart people nowadays, they pay the principal down. So they get to the house, you know what I mean? The regular 30-year loan or 15-year loan is better. But who can afford that, right? So you pay down the principal, and then everything else goes down. But if you pay the regular 30 years, the first 20 years is paying down the interest. The only money you get out of that house is inflation, how much the house inflates. Now they need a new plan. They need a new plan. No, they don't need a new plan. They got the human being is technically not necessary anymore. We're not necessary. So when we're not necessary, the people that run the society make cost-benefit analysis, right? What's the benefit of these people? What's the costs of keeping them? Anytime the costs get anywhere close to the benefits, oh, if we get rid of 1 billion people, why, good, that'll do this, that'll do that, da 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 da. And who needs them anyway? That's exactly what they said. Everything. We're living in a horror story. This is a damn horror story. And our people are standing out on the porch, urinating on the grass. This is technically a horror story that we're living through right now. And we have a chance to put our package together or leave it up to people like Donald Trump and them. Leave it up to those people that they don't have a soul. They don't have, don't. They don't have a soul. This is a jihad against the shaitan. The shaitan controls almost everything. That's why we trust in Allah. See, that's why we're hopeful and optimistic, because basically God is on our side. So let me, since I didn't start talking, do y'all mind if I just talk a little bit and then okay, that's what I'll do. Okay, we'll just go down the thing. Overexposure, globally Iran forced to center stage. Okay, let's look at a few interesting things. Remember we talked about certain alliances that, Iran, Syria, Iraq, strategic alliances, and we talked about Russia and all of that. Okay. Now, why did we talk about that? We talked about that because the same reason we talk about boss man here. The more we talk about him, the more he does to us. The more we talk about boss man, the more he does. Why? Because the more he does, you have to evolve to deal with him. And it's like a strategic exposure. You ever remember we always talked about Iran and As-Sabiqun have a symbiotic relationship. Definitely it's true. Right now, this is what Iran said. We had 2 viruses and you only had 1. And we're outperforming you. Guess who's watching? The whole world. What's the rest of the world seeing? They're seeing Yemen, Venezuela, Iran, I heard something about North Korea today, so they ain't gonna let the world go by, and they not big. Kim Jong-un is just not gonna play that. He didn't jump back to center stage, not center stage, but he ain't our homeboy, but he ain't they homeboy either, like the North Koreans, but that young guy, he keeps these white folks running around in circles. You know why? He knows what their whole thing is, and everybody knows what he knows is right. They want to keep American troops in Korea. Why? Because they have atomic weapons in South Korea. And from South Korea, they have China, Japan, everybody's over there, right? That's control of Asia. As simple as that. So why you think the North Koreans, they would be starving to death if it wasn't for that 900-mile border that they have with Korea. Every time a fog come in, they got all the trains loaded up in China, and they go across the border to Korea. All the time, the place is just, you know what I mean? It's automatic. They also have another relationship. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Chosin Reservoir in Korea. Anybody ever heard of that? That's, you see them Chinese, they had summer uniforms up in that ice cold, blisters on their feet and everything, because China sent them there. You know, that's in 1951. Okay. Why? Because they come up too close to China, the Yalu River. So the Chinese and the North Koreans have always had a relationship. Some manipulate a little bit here and there, but still, hey, China already knows. These global effects take some, we have to use a lot of them for our benefit. I'm sure I gave a talk on the Thucydides effect. That's a historical reality. It's 67% accurate in what they say. It may be all accurate. But when a declining power and an inclining power kind of get close together, they go to war. Okay. You have China, then kicked in hard on the U.S., and the U.S. is on a serious decline. I mean, it can't win this thing. I looked at it ever since we got dolls in the house when Sakina was a little baby. That's 20-something years ago. When we would go in a shop, tourist shop, to buy something made in South Africa, when you looked at the bottom, it said China. This is in the 90s. I said, oh, yeah. Well, it's all over. All our friends that are big business people, when you go in their warehouse, guess what all the boxes had on it? Chinese writing, Chinese writing. That was over 20 years ago. That was 25-something years ago. The closer you get to now, the more detrimental it is. There's something that I want to mention about the use of history, and let me try to find what I'm looking for. We talked about nice old Don. We got a few things that we can use. We've been using it on a small, but we have to develop our faculties and facilities. Right here is just a note to myself. It says, I will do battle with the white man on the ultimate level. The ultimate level is the level that we're dealing with now. It's on the mental level. The battlefield is not a physical battlefield, although it leads to that sometime. It's psychological battlefield. It's out there in space, cyberspace, I guess they call it. In that battle space, what we've been doing and what we're gonna spend time on. You know the old British thing, divide, conquer, and rule? Divide the American white man from the Zionist. Oh, we're in pocket. Don't worry about it. Divide the poor and other type white man from the Zionist. But in America, the Zionists control everything. Oh, nobody like that. You think them Republican crackers, like, they can't say nothing about the Zionist state of Israel? Do you think if Negroes understood that Netanyahu can come over here, right, and go to in front of the Congress and talk about Obama like a dog? Do you think if people knew that when Obama had a meeting with the Jews in the White House, that the Jews told him, okay, you can go now, you can get your black butt out of here, because we Jews is meeting, Zionists. I want to make a difference between Zionists and Jews. Many of the Jews are good friends of ours, but the Zionists is a special satanic party that have hijacked Judaism. They stole Judaism from the Jews. They're mad. The Jews, the rabbis. They got books about hundreds of rabbis speak out. They got against that stuff. They got all of that. The poor white man in America, when you follow the root of all of his problems, I'm talking about the mean old white man. Why do you think we say that, you know, from the ayats we study, you know, about doing good, but also replenishing, repelling evil with good, so that the people that may be being mean and hateful to us, that we gonna be their best friend. Who are they? The poor white folks in West Virginia and all of that. Do you know the amount of what opiates and all of that? Can you imagine that the Negro, not birth rate, but longevity, life expectancy, is still increasing? You know, the only people who their life expectancy, this is a couple of years ago now, this decreasing is the white man. Why? Because of opiates. Who gains in opiates? Who gains all that money? All the big white folks. Do you know that you could see it in the movie houses, you could see it everywhere. There's one movie I like, Dark Waters. Dark Waters is about how one of them big chemical, we all know who they are, DuPont. Yeah. They didn't poison the whole state. People be looking at stuff, and one of the scenes they said, you said they found fluoride, you know, like a fluoride. It hardens your teeth and everything, but it also turns them black. So there's a scene in the movie where the little kids is riding on bicycles, white kids, and they got black teeth, fluoride. The cattle are dying, all of this stuff. They killing out the white folks, right? They done took his job. They don't have no other employment for him. He can't work in the mines anymore. Who wants coal? Not only that, they give the poor white man black lung and no help. See, our shift is not only abuse of black people, but abuse of humanity. You're going to think we're spokesmen for the white people pretty soon. White people, American Indians, Latinos, everybody, you got to look at, I don't want to sound like a leftist, but the ruling classes control everything. The only thing we got to do is reach the people. Reach the people in large numbers and keep reaching them, because when the people win something, they go home and go back to sleep. But boss man up there, he's always clicking. If you leave him alive, right, he gonna get his stuff back together and he's coming back with a plan. You look up in 50 years, he done ran his plan again. Why? Because the elements that run that is satanic. The shaitan, and this is what we have to deal with, is religious focus cloaked in scientific dialogue or jargon. Because if you say the devil did this, the devil did that, right? People, they were 2-3 people believe it is a devil now. Right? It ain't no whole lot of the devil. Who is he? So we have to cloak religious. See, the battle is the same. The shaitan. Yeah, that's who's. See, you look on the news, there ain't nobody mentioning the shaitan or the devil or nothing else. It's all scientific language, right? Nobody, the only people that even mention, even the Christian, the only time they mention is, I'm going to go down here and open my church, and if God is on the side, I'll be looked out for, right? That's the only thing you hear. But you don't hear about the devil or the forces of shaitan or in human form being manipulated by the shaitan, right? You don't hear that. Okay. You don't hear it from the Muslims. You don't hear it even from the Muslims. You think they don't know that, hey man, see every other ayat you read in the Quran, it points toward the shaitan. I'm your sincere advisor, over and over again. Don't you see the signs of Allah? Right? All of these things, when people used to see signs, they would stop and say, man, I don't know, something's going on here. Remember, the prophets and messengers came with a sign. They came with a sign, will prove you that, well, I see, I walk across the water, I do something, right? So, right, that couldn't, it had to be from God because the human being couldn't do it. We don't have to get lost in the woods of confusion. What do I mean by that? Whether this is controlled by a certain group of people, whether it's accidental or what. The reason we don't have to get bogged down in it is because Allah said in the Quran, I made men and jinn to do what? Serve me. So now, before the collapse of old civilizations and old worlds, there was always someone came and kind of they fixed it up a little bit, or they had plagues that killed so many people. They had those things should be natural to us, that we understand those things. But the thing that we don't understand is, what do we do in this period of time? That's why the Quran is so important. See, not only the Quran is a book of guidance, But it's describing human nature. The human nature don't never change. The fitra of the human being, it don't change. So we have to develop a world that cultivates the good in the human being, just like cultivating a garden, planting the seeds and then giving enough water, pulling out weeds, right? Then you have a garden. That's what kindergarten means, a garden for children. Kindergarten. The Germans had something in their mind, kindergarten. We place these children in a garden and we develop a system that evolves them and then grow them to reach a excellent or good destiny. You ask yourself, do they do that in the world today? No, they got everything that's designed. The thing is designed to F your life up. To F your life up because you're in the way and you don't count. And if we don't take charge, not like dictatorial charge, but if we don't begin to manipulate our own environment, the people that's doing this, see, they're not hidden anymore. Like when you talk about Iran and when you talk about what's going on over there, they just in the news. No, we're not letting up on nothing. And then Allah always, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. So the world look at boss man and say, man, this guy don't have no kindness and no mercy at all. Right? Then the rest of the world looks and they see that there's an arrogance. See, Don is good for the world because he exposes everything. Nobody could do like he do. Could Obama do stuff like that? Even George Bush, that was considered the craziest man in the world at that time, he couldn't do stuff like Don. He was made for the time. He was made for this time. And the people put him in at this time because he had the characteristics that they could manipulate. But there's also some other things working. If you manipulate your environment correctly, you can trap systems. You can trap systems. We do it ourselves. Nobody thinks of it like that. We trap the system over and over again. We got boss man on the line. On the fishing line. We got him hooked. I'll just show you a little bit. Where is this? If you look right here, you can see no caller ID, no caller ID, no caller ID. This is the recent stuff, right? No caller ID, no caller ID, no caller ID. No caller ID, no caller ID. So we just keep going and we will see no caller ID, no caller ID. Well, that's all. That's only back for a couple of weeks. There's no caller ID. That's all Khadijah. It's all Khadijah, not Mukhtar. He don't call. But now, I'm going to mention something about them. We're not after them. We have to talk about them though, because our whole last 25 years have all been about this period. What do we mean? We thought about, look, I don't know what other people think about, but only thing I think about basically is this stuff. That's all I think about. That's all I write about. All this is notes from other books. Why? So if they steal my book, I still got all these notes that I copied out of them, and I got them all over the place. So it don't make no difference, you know, and it don't make a difference. That's why, but certain patterns have came up. Patterns of behavior. So, the abused white man, not the abused Negro, not abused women, but the abused white man is one of our major flags today. Why? Because those are the people that are the heart of Donald Trump's support. The not knowing, I'm not going to call him ignorant, white man. It's all laid out for us. It's all simple. All we got to do is and we have to develop the courage to go and finally say, okay, white people, we want to talk to you. Actually, it's our fault. Where we are right now, we just haven't said, hey, we just want to talk to y'all. It's simple as that, but that's part of the growth. Anyway, but white man, what did we do to you? Well, you think a while. So, did we move any of the companies, all these companies? Have you ever read Deindustrialization of America? Could the Negro deindustrialize? Could the Mexicans and Latinos picking all the fruit in California? Did they deindustrialize? You got dumb Donald Trump talking about, I'm standing up to China, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. How did China get there? The Rust Belt, how did it happen? They closed all the factories here, right? Big boss man closed everything down and sent it to China. The Chinese didn't trick them out of nothing. The Chinese tricked them real good on their best part because they believed if Chinese get more money, they get richer, they get wealthier, which they have, they'll want more freedom. The Communist Party will lose its hold on it. It's the exact opposite. The Chinese Communist Party, which is not communist, they said Chinese with Chinese characteristics. That means what we do is strategic management with Negro characteristics. Why they say that? Because all the countries that was controlled by the West, they gave them stuff to produce for them, but they didn't give them the psychological and the physical technology. They controlled it. The Chinese say, well, you can come here with all of that, but you got to bring the technology with you. So the Chinese learn how to make cars. Why? Because the white folks showed them. Because they're greedy. They're greedy. The Chinese knew that. So they just moseyed along. You know, this old guy, Deng Xiaoping, he said, don't antagonize the white man. Just cruise along. Just play the old Chinese laundryman. That's what he was saying. The old Chinese laundryman, right? And when they looked up, the Chinese stole everything. Remember CDs, DVDs, all that stuff? The Chinese would copy everything. Even they probably still do it. I know the last DVDs I used to buy was from a Chinaman. up in New York. He'd come through here, and I'd buy, oh, I got stacks up. I just buy them all because he gave me a bargain, a couple of dollars a piece. So I'd buy all of the, they all had nice plastic on them, and they all showed good. They was all good DVDs. So China slipped up on America. How? It just kept ho-humming and And America didn't get mad at China until 2 years ago when they came out with their plan for the future. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And America said, look at these people. But it's too late for boss man. Other countries can make decisions. They have a certain amount of cooperation, coordination. The United States cannot make decisions. It's built into they can't make long-range decisions. Number one, if you're in Congress, you can't build a new highway system that helps. Why? Because that'll spend money right now, and by the time you get out of office, that guy is going to get the benefit, right? So you got to have an instant, all the money, you got to have an instant comeback. I got this for you, I got that for you, right? That's lying to the people. But other people have long-range plans. Germans have long-range plans. Chinese have long-range plans. All their plans, well, we'll do this by 2035, and by the time we have our 100th inauguration in 2049, 1949, they had to, we're going to do this, that, and another. All of China are going to be what they call moderately prosperous. Not rich, but moderately prosperous. They don't know what they're doing with China. They think everything is economic with China. But China is civilizational. You listen to Bruce Lee, any of them, they talk about a Chinaman's chance. Remember all that in the martial arts? Why? Because the Chinaman's over here helping build the railroads. They light the dynamite, and if you can get out, if they can pull you up fast enough, right, you don't get blown up. So many of them got blown up, the white folks throwing the rope down and having the Chinaman stick the dynamite in there. And then they say, you don't have a Chinaman's chance. That's where they come from. Bruce Lee, what's all the other Chinamans? You hear? You see them. I don't care whether they're nationalists from Hong Kong. They're always mad at what white folks did to them. And their main thing is, we are now proud to be Chinese. Economics was only the road leading up to that. We feel good now about being Chinese. They just have to control themselves about payback. You know what I mean? Okay, but let's stay with the abused white man by the Zionists. The abused white man setup means that we let the world know and let the white man know that we are not your enemy. And now the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, everybody knows, right, that it's the big companies that's killing them, killing their family, destroying them people. Why? Because all of them got guns up there. They want them to use their guns on me and you. We're going to tell them, no. I'm your sincere advisor. Well, I ain't going to say it. You ain't going to say that. We're your friend. We go through all them churches and places and we teach the people something we know. Never give up on your dope fiend son, brother, or parent. You know what I mean? All you do is you just keep in there and you keep helping as much as you can. I say every now and then, pull back and take a little breather, just like a fight. You know, okay, I'm about drained out now. I'm gonna pull back. It's just for a month, could be a year, but I'm gonna take a breather on this guy. But I'm coming back with love and companionship. And all of that, we have the message that they need to hear because we've been through it. We've been through it. All it is simple for us. The other Muslims, they're going to vote in caliphate, whatever they're going to do. They're going to vote in here in America. Of course, they're crazy, but that's their business. We can't make them do nothing, but what we can do is do what we got to do. After they begin to see it, they'll get the idea of how to interact with people that we know. We know the white American mind. We just know it because we're here. And now their story is sad as ours. Their story is as sad as Indians. It's the same. You know, we're all in this together now. We're all in this together. That's what's happening. And at a certain time in history, Allah arranged it. The boss man didn't arrange this. He did some manipulation. But he didn't do it with this intention. Boss man have a saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Why would somebody say that? Because they've studied and they know that in order to do good deeds, you got to have the niyyah first. The road to hell is not paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with bad intentions. So they use reverse psychology on you. They said, well, if the road to hell is paved with good intentions, I might as well do something bad or do something personal for myself and family and keep going. The other thing is all the wars in the Middle East and everywhere else. White folks, 22 people up and dying. Well, they're all kind of folks. Every day. This is the first time in history where more people are dying from the result of the war than from the war. I was watching an American Experience last night. This old thing I knew on World War I. They called it shell-shocked and all that stuff. PTSD is shell-shock. They've been knowing can you imagine hiding in a hole for months or maybe years? And all you hear all day is bombs busting a block away, 10 feet away. Hey man, it'll run anybody crazy. It'll run anybody crazy. But when they come back here, they told them, oh, those weak people, they ain't got nothing. With the Gulf War syndrome, they use depleted uranium. The people come back and say, boss man, we got all this and this. I take you some aspirins. It ain't nothing wrong with you. Because you couldn't see it, you couldn't prove it. Okay, the system, all we have to do is point at the system, what it is, and what it's always been. And who's in it together? All of us. So it's the human family. Now, I believe that's part of our mission as Muslims, is to help the human family. Okay. There's something that we always we refer to as a song of freedom. A song of freedom could be national, racial, or historical. You know, something like James Weldon Johnson, what's it? Lift every voice and sing or something, you know. It could be all those things that we heard in the 60s, people get ready and all that. That reflected the time. That reflected the time. But there's other song of freedom. There's international songs, the International for Communism, the Uhuru, Freedom and Liberation, you know. But there's a personal one that only the individual hears. It's their song. It might be piped in with all the rest, but it's personal song. When I'm talking about a song, I'm talking about an attitude, a state of being. I can just tell you, yesterday I was just listening to that all day long, just tripping. So to me, this is a special time. It's not a song all in words, all that. It's an attitude. It's environmental circumstances. And what I'd like to say today is, out of all the history of everything that's happened over the years, you know, I have a little vision that in about 15 years, you know, it'll be a big show somewhere. And they say, we want you to come up. I'll be 90 years old then, of course. And tell us how y'all did that. What we're talking about right now. And I may not make it. That's 15 years from now. But I just imagine or visualize that time will come. We just say 15 years from now. It could be 20 years, could be 25. It could be way up there. But we would be explaining to the people the process of what we did as a community. And it's something that goes back to when I was younger. They had a statement that people would make, that I want to be a credit to the race. A credit to the race. When, what's her name, in 1939, when she gave a speech, Gone with the Wind, she played the big black woman. I'll think of her name in a second. Huh? No. The big black woman that worked in the house all the time. I don't know what, McDonald, something like that. Gone with the Wind. But when she got the Academy Award in 1939, Hattie McDaniels or something like that, yeah. She said, I want to be, I'm considered a credit to the race. That's something that modern people don't talk about. But in those days, everybody wanted to be, not everybody, but we thought in racial terms. We were a people, definitely a people. We lived in the same community, and so whatever we did, there was always that sign or sound that we wanted to be a credit to the race. What I'm saying right now is, this is a time that we can fulfill all of those aspirations and be a credit to humanity. A credit to humanity. The human being is full of realities. A good system reaches in and brings the good out of human beings, not the worst. This system that we have now is designed to bring envy, jealousy, hatred out of people, to divide the people up amongst each other, so the blacks hate the whites hate the Mexicans, and everybody is built off of that type of competition, that we compete with each other on ignorance. But I believe from some of the experiences of going around the world, you know what? I found that people are basically good. And people have good in them. But the systems are not designed to bring the good out of people. It's designed to institute the envy, the jealousy, the hatred. And that's what Shaitan do. Shaitan knows the human being. So he has all of his stuff working to bring the worst out of the human being, not the best, right? Because if you bring the best out of him, he's going to be God-centered. Now, we got all of these idols that people are worshiping. Their degree, their job, their color, all of that stuff. And just like Nimrod, as the Quran says, Nimrod says, Abraham tells him, well, my God gives life and my God gives death. He said, I'm the one. Think about whether it's Pharaoh or whether I'm the one that gives life and death. Nigga, I put you in your job, right? That's the way they talk. That's the way they act. I'm the one. You mess with me, this is a big company. You mess with me, nigga, you'll never be heard from again. You lose your job. When your job go, your wife is gone, your kids is gone, you're going to be an alcoholic or a dope fiend. Systems treat people like that. And you know what? They're 89% right. They have that power. So Nimrod, Abraham said, my God calls the sun to rise in the east and set in the west. So he was dumbstruck. We're in a pivotal position like that. There ain't no prophets and nobody else coming, so the human factor takes place. The idols were different. The idols were sticks, stones, and all of that. Now the idols is all that other stuff. PhDs, bank accounts. Excuse me 1 second. Assalamu alaikum.
Like my phone, Dad.
Yes?
If you go to the store, could you get some vanilla ice cream just to go with these brownies that I might make?
Vanilla ice cream to go with the brownies. I tell you what, you send Fatima down to the store, send Fatima out the door, and go into what used to be y'all's store. Go in the freezer and get your vanilla ice cream. There's some down there.
Vanilla ice cream there already?
Of course it is.
All right, great.
It's because your Baba thinks ahead. All right.
Great.
Assalamu alaikum. Anyway. No, this is it. Look. That cracker, that personality, the shaitan, he tells people, and he ain't talking to me and you, he talking to, you want to be a whistleblower? Hey, this is it for you. Look at what Julian Assange, the guy, the man that hadn't turned white, they didn't run him crazy. They won't even let him out of jail to go because they got carnivorous, whatever they got in there. He won't let him go. He was in the embassy 7 years, 7 or 8 years or something. That's enough time, just a time served in the embassy. They won't let him go. Why? Because he blew the whistle on them. The little boy that turned girl, what's their name? Bradley Manning. His name is something else now. No, but they tortured the guy, huh? Chelsea. They tortured the guy. They just tortured him. And what he showed was true. They there in the helicopter, killing people. We ain't killed nobody. Then they show it, and they don't say, well, we're sorry, we got caught. They say, no, just for you telling on us, we gonna make life. And an old Don carried it to another level. He didn't got rid of, well, he ain't got no cabinet, to tell the truth. He don't have nothing. He do everything himself and his daughter and his stepson. Tell the truth. Son-in-law is insanity, right? Every agency is empty. Just about every, he done fired all or whatever they call them, inspector generals of this, inspect the guy, he say, you told on me, you gotta go. Everybody is like that. That's good for us. All of that is good for us. This period has all the characteristics of societal transformation, historical transformation. That this is the period. Okay, as we outline what part we want to play in it, all it is the road to heaven is paved with good intention. And that's the main thing. If we have optimism and good intentions, if we know where we want to go, Allah will show us how to get there. It's just that this world we're living in is not a good world. It's not a good world. And we think about it all the time. So if there's anything we ever wanted to do, is we wanted to stand up and tell the people how we did this. Okay, a credit to the race, we could retire tomorrow and say, this is what we've done. And that would be sufficient for a worker somewhere, somebody that's working. Because we have, I put it like this, when we say that we got the system on the line, or the white man on the line, that means we got him hooked. He ain't got us hooked. You can't go to no phone where I done called them or nobody else. They all calling me. You know the little stopper they have on the fishing line that bobs when this thing go up and down all the time. Who is it? It's the white man. He's calling us. He's trying to influence us. He's trying to do what we used to call shaping and herding. That's what he's trying to do. Shape and herd our behavior by what he do to us. Could you turn the heat off one more time? Yeah. Shaping and herding. That's what he's not trying to do to us. I'm sorry. We're not doing nothing. We're not doing that. Why? Well, what we've been doing so far is a little self-study would show that we have always made an accurate analysis of the world in which we're living in. An accurate analysis. Just like we're studying what we do now, where we are now. Our self-study has always been accurate, no matter what the system does to misdirect us, to mislead us. Imam Ali radiallahu anhu said something about a bad person. He makes everything that is near or close to you look far. And he makes everything that is far look like it's right up on you. In other words, he diverts your perspective of reality. So he makes the things that's right up on you look like they're far, far away. So the things that is attacking us as a group of people right now, if we think it's far, far away, we won't never deal with it because it's way off in the distance. And if we think that the things that are possible to influence and to change are right here. So if we have one little quick demonstration, one little this, and we'll get that, right? That's making the things that are way off in the distance look close, and the things that are right here that we can deal with look far away. The other thing I want to say, self-study shows we have to use everything available to challenge the system as it is. The other thing I want to say is we have gotten exactly what we wanted. Total physical encirclement by the system. Call it stage 4 encirclement. Why would people have a whole system designed to make the white man mad? To sell wolf tickets. Who would do that? Maybe they're crazy, or maybe they're been pumped into something. We have known for a long time, and we know it now better than anything. Certain things the system don't like. You take Daniel Pipes, you take Steve Emerson and Abe Foxman. Those are the top Zionists in America. We called all them out physically. Yes, sucker. You know, Daniel Pipes was on a TV show. Well, I'm not going to talk to Imam Musa because, hey, I said, yeah, you ain't going to talk to me because you get slapped upside the head like your other homeboy did up there in New York. Right? So I'm not going to. No, I told her, I say, you there in Philadelphia, you meet me at the university, anywhere you want to meet. I'm calling you out that we deal with these issues. Why he didn't want to go? Because all the issues he'd been dealing with, the Danish conspiracy, he was behind all that stuff. You see what I mean? The newspaper writer was his friend, right? So he's been aimed at the Muslim. And then the dumb Muslims, when they write the article, they run out and jump up and down for an hour, and they say, see, these people is ignorant. We ain't did none of that, right? Abe Foxman, they had white boys coming to our demonstrations. They'd have a camera. How could we do that? Sure, you go ahead. Next time you see it on their programs. We was able to sneak up on these people, and this is what they do. No, we told them, come on. Why? because selling wolf tickets, talking trash, throws them off balance. Shoot, we had program 1989 and 19, the Triangle of Terror at UC Berkeley. You know what the Zionists learned? We just made fun of them. Everybody was laughing at them. One of the guys on our team was mad. Stokely Carmichael's people, AARP, All African Revolution, something like that. They was mad because we was making fun of the Zionists. I said, no, that's what you do. Allah give you something. Same thing at the university and down in LA. We made fun of the Zionists. Same thing on the white man in New York. The one we call a dummy, the TV show. Hannity. We say, you like George Bush, you a dummy then, right? Who called them crackers dummies? You know, people was here saying, Imam Musa, you shouldn't go up there. Them white folks got too much sense. I said, them crackers ain't got no sense. They ain't got, and I just called, and you know, and I drew him into that too. You know, he was drawn into that. I had 10 words on a piece of paper like right now, and I got 7 of those points that I wanted to make. I got them across. He didn't know what it was. Each word was an idea. And I said them when I wanted to say it. So there's no Negroes in America that slap the Zionists around like we do. That means all the Muslims should be coming, the Palestinians, they should be coming, come on, you speak for us. Why they don't do it? Something is wrong, right? We got the Zionist numbers. We're not going to talk about what they want to talk about. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about. Okay, that draws heat on you. We know who controls America. The Zionists are going to tell the Americans, you do this, you do that, right? And they do it. They got to send their children over to get killed, right? That's what they do. The Zionist controls America. All we got to do is let all the Americans know in the most sophisticated way. Sophisticated may be simple, but that's our job. We're going to get that done. It's not going to be hard at all. It's not going to be hard at all. To let the American people know your son has been sent to the Middle East to get slaughtered for the Zionist state of Israel, and it don't have nothing to do with nothing. The UN gave it that property illegal. The UN don't speak up. I say you can talk about anybody you want in the Congress. You can talk about niggas. I don't like niggas. That's okay. I don't like white folks. Well, that's your opinion, everybody. I don't like the Zionist state of Israel. That's it for you. No more your election. You go. You finished. The white folks don't like that. You think George Bush and them these is Peckerwoods. Do you think they like being pushed around by the Zionists? The representative of Shaitan in modern times is the Zionist state of Israel. They represent. They keep everybody divided up and fighting each other, right? We know what we're doing. We know the more we talk about the white man and the Zionists, we talk about the Zionists specifically because he's going to make sure the white man come and tear our behind up. And that's what he does. That's what he does. So who's controlling who? Our literature says right here, we have gotten exactly what we wanted. Because in the transfer, you have to use what Allah give you. Strategic management, what do we do naturally? The Europeans have no history of it. They don't do that. I remember when I first went to jail, a little white boy in the cell, I started talking about his mother. Oh, he's trying to get out of the cell. He can't stand it. But the Negro love his mama's about the only one that beat that. Daddy probably halfway gone, right? So the Negro love used to call her mud deer. I don't know, mother deer, down south, mud deer. Yeah, not Medea. They have no Medea. It's mud deer, right? Mud deer, especially them niggas in Mississippi. Mud deer. This mother. I said, it's mother. It's your mama. Hi. Mud deer. Okay, fine. So the Negro love his mama. So who do we talk about? His mama. That builds up your character. You got to be strong. You can't start hollering, man, you can't talk about or you lose. Everybody knows that. It's part of the culture. Playing the dozens. Why they don't talk about your daddy? Because you don't care nothing about, well, some people do. I do. But the people, you can't find him to care about him. You know what I mean? Half the time. They made that too. They made that. So we have developed the environment to where it is now. We got all of this super encirclement. We're surrounded by the white in detail. Not only surrounded, he got everybody out there waiting. He can know you so well, he have people waiting for you to come. He want to run you down, shaping and hurting. So I look at people like Chris Hedges and all of them, and the nigga with the brother with the scarf on his. They out there waiting along the thing. They're waiting. Because they figure at this stage, he'll get through this, and then we're going to send him over there with them. Is that cold air blowing? Why they don't solve any problems? Why they say exactly the right thing? They do. Chris Hedges and them, and they have a beautiful woman. The woman's name is the Jim Crow woman. Alexander something other. Yeah. She's sitting there waiting and got religion. They put them people right there on the road because they figure we just send them right down the road and they get hooked up with them. Just like Abdul Malik them, just like all that. You can watch and see. I was looking at a program at Berkeley, the little scarf man, and Zaid was in the thing, and the man was making, yes, ma'am, da-da-da-da-da. That means they're on the same doggone team. All of them on the same team. And another thing, just like the white man comes after everybody that he don't like, he only puts, you're not getting any of those positions. You're not going to get to go to all the universities and talk to nobody unless you're on boss man's team. So if all of those Noam Chomskys and all of them people, hey man, they on boss man's team. They on boss man's team. They gotta be, they ain't did nothing in 50 years. They've been at every, and I was there when Václav Havel said such and such, and they came, and I was there, and I said, damn, this boy get around more than I do, you know. And then they have some, what is it, the new Jim Crow. That's a good book about the legal system. It's close to my heart. And then they have a girl that looks just like the girls you like. Wavy hair, got a light brown skin. They're not stupid. But when it comes to us, they are stupid. You know why? We don't bite nothing to cracker. And they haven't figured that out. We haven't bit no bait they threw out. They send them people rolling through here all the time. We haven't bit at nothing. Because they think every nigga will bite at the bait. If you like yellow girls, you're going to bite at them yellow girls. They didn't look at the record. His nigga that's got 14 or 15 years of celibacy. That's the record for Negroes. They don't have no niggas like that. I haven't seen them. If you find something, there ain't nothing wrong with them. His nigga full grown, running the hills, super juiced up, and ain't mess with nobody for all them years. Because they thinking about the movement. So they send a yellow girl by, it's a yellow girl. Self-discipline, even if you like to do something, you don't do it because it don't have the value, it don't have any value. You value sex at 5 and you value movement at 68 or 69. So it's not of any value, right? For the other niggas now, the standard Negro, sex, tenders, this is like 75 or 80, could be 89 or 90. And movement is 2, 3 or something like that. That's the way they value. They mistake is when they do that. They make that mistake and they never correct it. They don't correct it. They haven't corrected it. They keep trying over and over and over again. I'm telling you, no matter what you believe, we are managing boss man. And everything we have done is for that reason. We talk about strategic alliances. We talk about Hezbollah. We talk about all that, Syria, Iraq. Why? To get more heat on them. Because if we leave natural development, they will evolve behind the curve. That includes Iran, Iraq, Syria, all of them. So you have to put enough heat on them. You're helping them. It don't look like it. You're helping them evolve like we put heat on ourselves. We put heat on ourselves, so we have to evolve. Boss man done participated in our evolution. Tazkiya bil nas. Because he rolled it by you. He tests you in everything. Pretty soon, he can't scare you no more. Well, boss man, I'm sorry, I ain't into that. Or he put something sweet on the hook. Well, you like this? Yeah, I know you like that. So sure, I like it, but I'm not going to take it because it's not healthy. Not healthy for me, it might be healthy for you, right? That's tazkiya bil nafs. That's purification of yourself. That's why we're going to whoop boss man. And optimistic, I'll close with this, because I got a lot of things to talk about. Look, don't worry about boss man. Don't worry about the system. The system is in a process of self-trapping. It's trapped itself in the situation it's in now. It can't get out of. And if it get out of it, it's going to leave a trail dripping, and everybody's going to see the trail. How they deal with all these billions, the economy, the trillions. Before, they just let them give the Wall Street people all the money and fine. But now everybody's watching. They won't get away with it this time. Or if they do get away with it, it's the last time, the next go-round, which will be close on this. Remember, we in the last stage or the second to the last stage now. So what we do for planning, we consider this the last stage. If another one come after that, which it has to, we'll deal with that then. But white man on the line, we got the system hooked. System don't have us hooked. At this stage, this is a psycho battlefield or battle space. And it's been like that. Brain, body, and spirit. Just like they do things over and over again, pretty soon, if you study them, you get to study the pattern of behavior, right? And that's why they can't do nothing to us but call us on the telephone over and over again. That's all they can do. Or they can up the taxes a little bit, or they can write a little thing out there, right? They haven't evolved. And the other thing, science fiction management. Remember, we used to talk about that all the time, but we never mentioned what it was. Well, that's the stage we right smack in the middle of scientific management, and we're not afraid of it. Scientific management is when the white man might have something in your brain that can manipulate you, and you say, get busy, cracker, we're gonna see. Yeah, that's science fiction management. And that's what we live in now, right? You see everything they got is now science fiction has become a reality. But for the Negro, science fiction management mean, boss man, if you got a gadget in the brain, and I knew something because of the FBI, they was sitting there, they had one of them things, and he had it almost sitting at my head. I started to ask him, but I didn't, because I want him to do what he's gonna do. Psychological guerrilla warfare, strategic management under conditions of repression, and all of these other things, including science fiction management, means that someone has to accept the responsibility to waylay all the things that they worship and show the people they ain't nothing. Example, you ain't nothing but a bum, right? That's what you're saying. What they worship, yeah, what they worship, their idols, all the things that they have, little idols. Oh, he has a PhD, has such and such and such, right? They have such much money. They have so many, there's a happy movie star or a rapper. But if they're so happy, why every other month somebody commits suicide out there? And they got all the money in the world, and they look, how is it that the people committing suicide are the most beautiful people out there, and they got all the money, and they got 3 or 4 swimming pools, and they're not happy? What's up with that? That's showing the people, hey, this stuff, this glitter and all of that, it ain't, hey man, it ain't nothing. I think a lot, I had a chance to have all of that in spades, more than anybody in our region. And I got a chance to see that, hey, it ain't nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, as long as they keep fooling the people, that's it, right? We have to show them and teach them and educate them about internal development. It's better to develop internally more than it is to develop externally. It's better to have, like Imam Ghazali, they asked him, what shall we possess? He said, that which you don't lose in the event of shipwreck. You know, they used to have a lot of shipwrecks in the old days. If you was carrying a bag full of gold, and that gold was pulling you down, you cut that, right? Why? Because you got to save yourself. That which you don't lose in the event of shipwreck mean that you save yourself and learn to control and manage yourself. And when you save yourself from the Satan, from the shaitan, that's our main enemy. The people don't know that. The people don't even talk about the devil no more. Tell the truth. If you ask the people out there, standing right there, almost hugging each other, and the news just said at least be 8 feet away. And the Negro is like, hey, 8 inches, a foot, even some are even a foot away, you know. I saw the barbecue man with a big trailer. He pulled by, and all the niggas was there. Even to go in the white man's store, you gotta be this. They got lines. They stay away. The Negro was hugging each other and everything. If you go out there right now and tell them the shaitan made you do that, the shaitan distorted reality. The shaitan could have made the disease. That's not important. The important thing is that you are not doing what's technically good for you. Especially in Louisiana, what is 75 or 80% of the people that's dying is black. And in other cities, it's almost as high. We don't know whether it's targeted or what, but there are some rules that can help you a little bit. Hey, follow them. The Negro don't hear those. You don't care. Why you don't care? Because the shaitan is the devil. So we have to use modern language, modern sophistication, and develop religious terminology that's cloaked in scientific jargon. Science fiction management. That's what we. And it's been like that. We haven't been talking about all this stuff about psychological manipulation. Well, we've been talking because it wasn't a time. The people would have locked us up over in St. Elizabeth. No, they would. If you come too soon, sometimes that's what patience. You have to wait sometime. You have to wait on the people. And you're sitting there waiting, pitching quarters or dimes or something. Well, then you look up, this is it. You come out running. Why? You've been waiting on it all the time. All of it come together. The white man being oppressed, right? The science fiction management, the picture recognition of all of people, all of that stuff. The studying of they can study, find out anything, everything you eat and anything you do by just looking at your credit card, right? What you spent, right? All of that. That's our mission. I didn't mean to talk all that much, but are there any questions or comments? Or we can go right back into what we was dealing with. First, we was just talking about our goal here. Well, we haven't come up with one solution. That was flyers and information. What else can we do to influence the direction of change right now? Anybody?
Well, I did say, partner up going with the alternative resistance plan of looking at the churches.
Yeah. Churches. Uh, are the Muslims on that page at all, you think? Alternative resistance. From what you see, I mean, from the websites, from what they do.
No.
Uh,
Because like I had mentioned before, everybody was talking about burning.
yeah?
Muslims were talking about burning or somebody else, so they just tell me that their focus is on, their solution is through, the system. That we're not talking about any type of collective alternative.
Well, that shows you how far the Muslims are from the Hadith, because the Hadith said Muslims not want to get bit from the same hole twice. We told the Muslims 40 years ago that we're not going to be involved in any politics because because of our experience as black people, you're not going to get anywhere with that. They give it to you today, they'll come right back. That was 40 years ago. They had just began to take back all the things that they'd so-called put out. So
And we always end up on the losing team anyway. Whoever we support is always losing.
they got with Kerry, George Bush won. They got with somebody else, and well, even now when they got with Hillary, what's her name win, and he come out wanting to put all the Muslims in jail almost, old Don. But anyway, we may not be able to count on the Muslims that much, but we'll write them out. I mean, we not write them out. We will write them in, but just put little things, semicolons around them. Because I think, well, for instance, like for the next couple of months, maybe even the next few months, we'll spend most of our focus on fundraising. Fundraising. That means we ain't worried about Juma, we ain't worried about, first of all, everybody come to Juma look like they're getting a little salary or something for it anyway. I mean, don't mean it's true, but it seems like that. I mean, they just don't, because they just come in, look up in the air, and go right on out. It ain't no matter how deep it is and how urgent it is, they ain't giving up no response. They just, Assalamu alaikum, and they gone. They don't even stop and hang and ask questions about, well, he said this, he said that. There's no sign of interest at all that they got. I guess they go get their stamp or somewhere, and then that's what they do. Oh, no, it's clear. It ain't. That's the way I feel about it, and it comes from I don't know how many years of experience. If the whole crew can join up with As-Sabiqun, and they all pack up and leave the same day, and they still hang around each other, but they had bay'ah to As-Sabiqun, but that's all too. It's all too perfect. But remember, that's good. That's good. That means there's no unclarity. Everything is, when you see it, that's what it is. Okay. So, but this continuous fundraising, why do that? We want to do that so that we get a reservoir our own resources. Because we believe that we're going to have a big day out there in California because of the way the government, they seem to be doing this stuff so that we will, win our $100 million case. So it seems like that the way they've been doing, arresting, and you got all the paperwork, the other people don't have nothing, that means they're trying to give you something. But when they give you something, they manipulate. They feel they can manipulate it. That's why shaping and hurting. Anybody, if they was us, they'd be back in California in the court. They'd be fighting their case. They would have done that a long time ago. We didn't do it because we don't want to do it when they want. Why? Because when people see where we are, we got here by ourselves. We didn't get here because of you. So if you build the highway, remember the road, the good intentions have. If you build a highway, you got little stops that you know along the way. And even when it's a strategic retreat, they make you real big, then you have to pull back. We went through that many times. So we'll know where we can stop and rest and do what we want to do, because we built the highway. How do we know this is going to happen? In the California, from here, I don't know, 40, 50, probably it's more than that. So we know the places where we can stop and get cheap gas and everything all along the highway. Some of the places we didn't stop that so many times, it's like we live there almost. When you're going to hit the valleys, when you're going to hit the hills, you're going to know all of those things. Because once you've been down a certain road, you know what to expect on that road. You know the vistas that you're going to see. All of that. It's the same thing on movement. You've been down that road, you already know what you're going to see. Because that road is the same road, always the same road. Patience in adversity is what the Quran refers to. That means no matter what happens, we have to have patience in adversity. And you can do stuff so long that it's not adversity anymore. We have to harass them to do some more adversity. Get more multiple. We've been telling boss man, that little stuff you're doing, nobody cares about it anymore. Now, it'll scare the doo-doo out of somebody else, but it don't have no effect on us. We've been down that road too many times. No, you cannot. And evolving to the level of science fiction management means that you get to a level that even if the boss man got a gadget in your brain that can control the flow of stuff in your body and make your legs hurt when anything, boss man, right now, I'm just only 98% certain of it, but I'm sure of it. I am absolutely sure of it. But we say, get busy, sucker. Yeah, that's what science fiction, that means that you don't care what they can do. That means you get to the level, Tazkiyah bil Nafs means you get to the level of achievement of martyrdom. And if you're ready to achieve martyrdom, you have to be ready on a daily, weekly, monthly, hourly basis in any form of martyrdom, any shape of martyrdom. And when the hadith talks about oppression, the people was asking the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, make dua for us. He said, in the olden days, man, people got thrown in the pits with lions. They got their skin pulled off with combs of iron. I mean, they skinned the niggas. And the people didn't change their fate. So, too impatient. Then he told them it'll come a time when a woman can travel from Hadramaut to Sana'a. That's like in Yemen now. They still have Sana'a, there's a big city there. Without any worry, except maybe a wolf might be out there, stalking something. That's what's on our side. Remember, our movement wants to be a credit to the race first, and then a credit to humanity in the final analysis. The biggest thing out of all of this is that you can reach that level with no hatred, no animosity, and no nothing, with a big smile. That is the rarest of all of it. That, my research shows, that don't happen. It just don't happen. Nobody gets that far, or they don't let them live. You ever see the picture of Malcolm in the window with his rifle? Paranoid, but he just should be like that. Suppose you can get to where that's not even possible, right? It's not even possible. That means, in human terms, you done had some, I really can't explain it thoroughly. All I can say is, personally, I thank Allah for being here all this time and seeing and getting. Can you imagine that you can go all over the world, all over the physical world? I don't bet you it's not one Negro know where Cañon de Cobre is. Copper Canyon, it's like Grand Canyon except it's in Mexico. Ain't nobody never been there. I never heard nobody even mention it. But it's, just imagine you get a chance to look at Allah's creation and know that it was given to us with mizan, with balance. It's out of balance now. We can play a part in help making it. That's where the road to heaven is paved, with those deeds. Yeah, the road to hell is not paved with bad intentions. Good intentions, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, the road to hell is bad. That's what, if you want to go to hell, get you some bad niyyah, right? Right, just get bad niyyah and follow your niyyah. And you're headed to hell. You'll get there. But you won't get to hell if you got good niyyah. Everything you got, I want to do good. That ain't what Allah say, right? Okay, anyway, so the fundraising we'll do for a certain amount of time to where we reach what we feel comfortable with. And we'll win or lose a case in California when we get ready. Yeah. We'll do it when we get ready. Are there any other comments or observations? Observations. Is people watching that more now? Huh?
Numbers have gone up.
Oh, okay. Right. Very good. Well, no, we're going to get super bombastic websites in the future. See, because they got people, they got 1 million followers, 5 million followers, and the stuff they talking ain't nothing. So we'll build up one of these joints, and we'll do a whole list of them, like we'll take the ones that we've done over the decades and over the years, and we'll put, like Malcolm, they did Malcolm stuff. They might put 15 minutes of this with 15 minutes of that. That sounds fiery and interesting, and not like, we ramble here a lot. Just imagine that we do them that are concise. You get periods where you being concise and specific, and then you go to the next one, right? So we'll have hundreds of those. We'll start one with at least 50 of those, and maybe just make them an hour. We might do some a half hour, so people, they actually want more. If it's quicker, they say, I want to listen to more of that, And so we got a lot of things that we ask Allah to help us with. And all our stuff is simple. It's simple. That's why the white man had a saying, KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Maybe there's some suggestions from the viewers.
Any suggestions from the viewers?
What they would digest.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Fundraising, okay, you know how we go from master to master, which one stands us the situation? Is there no strategy we can use? I'm not sure people still going to certain masters or it's closed.
No. We're going to take our time. That means, what I mean is, for instance, for a certain length of time, we may not even have Jumas here. We'll take a team, we'll go to one big show and pass out DVDs. But now we'll make special, the DVDs we have now, no matter how good they are, they're generally too long and they're not specific. So we're gonna make new DVDs. I mean, like within this period of time, we'll make new DVDs that are shorter and more specific. In other words, they won't be rambling. This is who we are, we introduce ourselves. This is who we are, this is what we've done, this is the environmental circumstances, and that won't be no more than 5 or 10 minutes maximum. Okay? And then this is who we are, and this is what we want you to do in relation to us. And they look at it, we go back the next week or the next day or whenever we go back after they've seen it, and we'll raise funds. We'll explain things like that we are not beggars, we are such and such and such. We won't even use that terminology, but it'll give that idea of who we are and what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, and it will have some of the same characteristics of a fundraiser, not our fundraisers, but their fundraisers. How they raise funds, what they do. I've been to them plenty of times. In fact, I was at the big fundraiser at Santa Clara for, what's that Muslim legal crew? Do you remember the Muslim League? You sent it. Something like that, yeah. Yeah, all the guys on there, okay. I'm glad that I was there, because I've come to the conclusion that they're just the crookedest people I ever seen in my life. They're just liars. They're getting all that money, and on their staff, they got every retired guy from the State Department and everybody else. The whole legal team is the police. But the guy, what was his name? I think his name is, Yeah. He was saying, everybody has to, you look at all the civil rights movements and organizations, they all got into the legal thing. I said, that is crazy. I didn't say it then. I said, that's a lie. Everybody that got in, now they're getting out. You know what I mean? And NAACP been in there 100, good God Almighty, over 100 years. 115, 120, 110 years that I know of. Well, 111 years, 1908, 1909, something like that. Good God Almighty. I'm glad they was there on lynchings and stuff, but I sent them something about our situation. They sent me a registration thing to join in. In other words, if I didn't belong to the NAACP, they didn't hardly meet, but when they did, I'd have to be a member for them to talk about it. I have to pay the money, or they, you know. I said, man, this is a cold crew here. And all the people that are supposed to help, look at poor care. I can't understand, well, I do understand it. But anyway, if there's no questions and no more comments, then we'll close, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Alhamdulillah bil alamin. Yep.